Good afternoon to you, Mark Suddeth, HurricaneTrack.com, here with your Hurricane Pro and HD video blog for Wednesday, September 18th, 2013. What's going on in the tropics this afternoon? Well, we still have Umberto hanging around out here in the east central Atlantic. Eventually, as I've been saying, it's going to head on out to sea here, even more so, and that'll be it. It's going to take a few more days, though. Then we have Invest 95L. A lot of people watching this with great interest, wondering what's going on, and we'll take a look at that today. Also in the eastern Pacific, Tropical Storm Manuel, remember it developed and then came into Mexico and then has come back out. It's just going to hang around down here until it slowly winds down. Unfortunately, it's bringing quite a bit of heavy rainfall throughout this region. You may have seen on the news that there's been quite a bit of flooding, people stranded in Acapulco, underscoring once again that tropical cyclones are more than just wind events and storm surge events. Those grab the headlines. It is that heavy rainfall that causes a lot more problems, I think, annually than the other impacts. Certainly storm surge, a big deal, as is the wind, but you can see very clearly here this season with the impacts of Fernan and then Ingrid over here, even Tropical Depression 8, and then on the Pacific coast here now with Tropical Storm Manuel, rainfall a real problem. So let's jump in and take a look at a satellite picture of the Atlantic Basin. We'll do a loop of what's going on this afternoon. And you can clearly see Umberto pretty weak out here, starting to really lose its identity. Cooler waters out there and drier air probably starting to impact it. Plus, it's been sitting over the same area for a while, so it may be disturbing the water underneath itself just a little bit too much. Notice here we have a tropical wave. Have to keep an eye on this as it moves its way westward. It'll probably end up somewhere over here in about a week, and by that time we'll be pretty close to October. And once we get into October, this area really starts to be favored climatology wise, and we'll see start piling in these tropical waves here that come in nice and quiet. Like they say, it's the quiet ones you have to watch. So down here in the southwest Gulf of Mexico, here is the low pressure center. A lot of dry air in the area. You can tell, I mean, it's got some banding clouds here, but not much convection. The convective activity is over here on the east side. And all of this upward motion here sort of competing, if you will, against the low-pressure center that's off the northwest tip of the Yucatan. So a broad area of low pressure down here overall. Going to take a while to consolidate. Obviously, a lot of people wondering what's going to be happening with this. I think some folks have taken a peek at the Hurricane Weather Research Forecast Model, what we call the HWRF, and it does something kind of like this, where it sends it up towards the northeast Gulf as a strong hurricane. That model is very, very poorly, a poor performer in its intensity for sure, and sometimes its track. What I like to look at are the global models and the vorticity fields and things of that nature. Just kind of make it real simple and look at the larger, more obvious puzzle pieces. And if we do that, we go in here and we look at the 850 millibar vorticity, the spin in the atmosphere. We see, yeah, that's pretty good down here, getting there. Pretty large area of vorticity. Here's the vorticity associated with Umberto. Here's the vorticity associated with Manuel in the eastern Pacific. So it looks decent now, and this may become a tropical depression somewhere over here in the Gulf, Western Gulf area. And then bring more rainfall perhaps to this area, which really doesn't need any more rain. But then watch what happens here when we look at the GFS. This is the brand new run, 12Z from today. Also looking at the 850 millibar level of the atmosphere, 5,000 feet up. And we're looking for that round appearance, the spin in the atmosphere. This is the initial conditions. Here's Umberto, nice and round, not a lot of energy associated with it. You don't see many colors in here indicating quite a bit more spin or energy in the atmosphere, the simple way to put it. And then look down here in the area near the Yucatan. We see the vorticity signature and the counterclockwise rotation of the 5,000 foot winds. in association with 95L. As we go through time here, 24 hours out, take a look. A little bit better organized down here, so maybe a tropical depression by sometime tomorrow, and it's just going to mill around down here in the southwest to western Gulf. Steering current's pretty weak. If we go to 48 hours out, you see still, kind of somewhat rounded, but not very strong. I don't see much indication that this is going to be a very strong system. The global models generally not indicating that it's going to be very strong. A lot of that has to do with this trough that's going to be dipping in, upper level winds coming out across the system, not very favorable. If we go out to 72 hours into the future, this will be valid Saturday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time. There it is, real close to the coast of Mexico, a very familiar spot where Ingrid just went in, pretty close to it near Tampico, La Pesca. And then, as this trough dips in, you get another surface low that develops along the trough, kind of like what we see in the wintertime, not related to the tropics, but you are pulling some of that tropical moisture out of the Gulf to feed this system, so that might rob what's going on down here, pulling some of that energy into this low pressure area, which will then scoot up along the east coast here, it looks like, as a baroclinic storm. In other words, it's not deriving its heat and energy solely from the tropical ocean. In fact, if we go on out to 96 hours, day 4, you see the vorticity and energy associated with this storm system pretty well defined, a lot more spin in the atmosphere. Meanwhile, the system down here, what would, I guess, be tropical depression 10 or 11, whatever it would be, I'm losing track already, stays down in the Bay of Campeche. This trough digs in, the energy tries to go by, and in fact, once we get out here to day 5, 120 hours out in time, this is valid Monday morning. Pretty good storm system, lots of heavy rain and wind along the southeast coast, and this will be stormy enough, but it's not tropical. It's not a tropical cyclone. This is your typical mid-latitude storm system that comes in energized by the atmosphere. Yes, it taps some of that warm, moist air to help feed itself, but it is not a pure tropical cyclone by any stretch. But down here in the Bay of Campeche, this system hangs back, and we'll just have to see. This is 5 days out. It may be down there for a while, but we'll have to watch this too. Interesting that a lot of people here in the southeast and then maybe up the east coast could get some wind and rain with a nor'easter type system. No snow associated with it. Not that kind of nor'easter. A little too soon for that. But it will be something to keep an eye on. So an active pattern, and as long as the H-Wharf model doesn't, for the first time in a long time, be correct and really nail it, I think we're going to be okay. But we'll watch and see. This is what we do. We discuss, we look at things, and we examine all the different pieces. And right now, the more reliable models, the GFS, the Euro, not showing the system bundling the energy and becoming its own identifiable separate beast, if you will. So a weak tropical cyclone in the Bay of Campeche, southwest Gulf of Mexico, and then a separate storm system riding through the trough along the Gulf Coast states and then up through the southeast. And we'll watch it all and see what happens, and you'll be on top of it each day, and you'll know enough to sound pretty smart around the water cooler. All right, have a good rest of your Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in. Again, I'm Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. Always an honor to produce these videos for you on Hurricane Pro in HD. I'll be back with more for you tomorrow.